Take a breath before you continue. Slow down your mind. Let your spirit lean forward. Because this message was not released casually. This is not encouragement for the masses. This is not motivation for those simply trying to survive. This is a recognition signal. If you found this message, and especially if you felt it before you understood it, then something inside you already knows. Your calling does not sit within the normal category of chosen. You were not selected merely to overcome hardship, succeed in life, or inspire a small circle. You were marked for higher assignment. And higher assignment does not mean louder, faster, or more visible. It means heavier, deeper, and more accountable. That is why your path has felt unusual. That is why your development took longer. That is why you've often felt both protected and pressured at the same time. You are not imagining this. You are not late. You are not behind. You were being prepared beyond the ordinary chosen. From early on, your life resisted neat labels. You weren't fully like the people around you, but you weren't allowed to escape them either. You saw things others missed. You felt things others ignored. You carried questions that had no safe place to land. And because of this, you learned early how to self-contain. Not because you were weak, but because you were too perceptive. You noticed emotional undercurrents. You sensed unspoken tension. You picked up on spiritual climates before anyone named them. So you adapted? You learned how to be present without being fully revealed. You learned how to smile while processing deeper realities. You learned how to survive environments that were not designed to hold your frequency. This was not accidental. Those marked for higher assignment are often trained first in discernment, not visibility. You had to learn how to see before you were allowed to speak. One of the clearest signs of your calling is this. No one's path ever fully worked for you. What worked for others felt incomplete for you. What satisfied them left you restless. What motivated them did not anchor you. You tried, truly tried, to fit into systems, timelines, and identities that were celebrated. But something always whispered, "This isn't it." Not because those paths were wrong, but because they were too small. Higher assignment cannot be fulfilled through imitation. You were not designed to repeat patterns. You were designed to interrupt them. That's why your journey included confusion. That's why your progress looked nonlinear. That's why you often felt like you were starting over, while others were settling in. But you weren't starting over. You were being redirected upward. Let's speak honestly now. There were seasons when you felt deeply alone. Even when surrounded by people. You could be in a room full of voices and still feel unseen. Not because you were invisible, but because few could perceive you accurately. Those marked for higher assignment often experience isolation not as punishment, but as preservation. Your spirit required quiet to mature. Your insight required solitude to sharpen. Your authority required refinement away from noise. If you had been constantly affirmed early on, you might have built identity on applause instead of alignment. So life stripped away distractions. It reduced your circle. It forced you inward. And while it hurt, it also protected the assignment. Higher assignment requires emotional depth, not just spiritual knowledge. That's why your heart had to be broken open. Not destroyed, but expanded. You felt betrayal more deeply. You grieved longer. You questioned harder. But through that pain, something changed. You became more compassionate, more discerning, more aware of the unseen battles others carry. You didn't harden. You softened without losing strength. This is rare. Many survive pain by building walls. You survived by building wisdom. And wisdom is required where authority must be exercised without cruelty. Another marker of higher assignment. You learned how to continue without applause. You showed up even when unseen. You kept going even when misunderstood. You refined yourself even when no one noticed. This trains something crucial within you. Internal alignment. Those operating at higher levels cannot rely on external validation. They must be guided by internal truth. You learn how to listen inwardly, how to trust timing, how to obey direction even when logic lagged behind. This was not wasted effort. It was command training. There was a moment, maybe many moments, when you realized something about yourself that felt isolating. You couldn't pretend anymore. You could no longer be satisfied with conversations that skimmed the surface of life. You could no longer chase goals that looked impressive but felt empty. You could no longer celebrate achievements that didn't align with truth. And at first, this confused you. Because everyone else seemed fine. They were motivated by titles. They were energized by status. They were fulfilled by appearances, routines, and recognition. But you felt hollow trying to play that game. Not because you lacked ambition, but because your soul required meaning, not motion. You weren't built to stay busy. You were built to stay aligned. While others celebrated milestones, you quietly asked, "But what does this actually change?" While others chased success, you wondered, "Who does this truly serve?" While others accepted inherited beliefs, you felt compelled to examine them. This wasn't rebellion. It was discernment awakening early. You sensed when things were performative. You felt when systems were hollow. You noticed when people were living scripts they never consciously chose. And trying to participate in that level of unconsciousness exhausted you. That's why surface-level meaning didn't just bore you, it drained you. Your spirit was allergic to emptiness disguised as fulfillment. You may have noticed this about yourself. Small talk wears you out. Repetitive conversations feel heavy. Discussions that avoid truth make you restless. It's not because you lack social skill. It's because your mind and spirit naturally scan for depth. You listen between words. You sense emotional undercurrents. You hear what isn't being said. So when interactions stay shallow, it feels like holding your breath. You crave conversations that reveal something real. Not just exchange information, but exchange presence. That craving isn't weakness. It's calibration. Those marked for higher assignment must be fluent in substance, not noise. One of the hardest things about your journey is this. You couldn't stay asleep. You couldn't convince yourself that this is enough when it wasn't. You couldn't silence the inner knowing when something felt misaligned. You couldn't numb yourself without feeling the cost. Others coped by distraction. Others buried discomfort in routine. Others silenced questions with certainty. But you carried questions that demanded honesty. And honesty is uncomfortable, especially in environments built on avoidance. So you often found yourself standing alone internally. Even when outwardly you were still participating. This was not because you were difficult. It was because your spirit would not betray itself. There were moments when you let go of things others couldn't understand you leaving. Roles, relationships, dreams that looked good on paper. People thought you were ungrateful. People thought you were confused. People thought you were wasting opportunities. But they didn't feel what you felt. They didn't carry the internal friction you carried. They didn't sense the misalignment you sensed. They didn't feel the slow erosion that comes from living out of sync with truth. You didn't walk away impulsively. You walked away because staying would have cost you your integrity. And integrity matters deeply to those marked for higher assignment. Because authority cannot rest on a fractured foundation. Surface-level living requires fragmentation. One face for work. One face for family. One face for survival. One face for ambition. But you were never good at splitting yourself. Wearing masks felt heavy. Performing identities felt dishonest. Switching values depending on context felt wrong. You needed your inner world and outer life to match. That's why misalignment hurt you more than others. That's why compromise lingered in your conscience. That's why you couldn't just play along. You were built for integration. Where thought, emotion, action, and purpose move together. And integration is essential for higher assignment. Because fractured people cannot carry unified responsibility. You noticed something else too. You were drawn to truth even when it isolated you. You read between lines. You questioned narratives. You sought understanding beyond what was handed to you. Not to feel superior, but to feel whole. Truth grounded you. Clarity calmed you. Understanding stabilized you. And when truth disrupted comfort, you chose truth anyway. This wasn't because you enjoyed discomfort. It was because false peace disturbed you more. That discernment is rare. And it's dangerous to systems that rely on compliance. Which is why your journey required resilience. Here is the deeper reason surface level meaning never satisfied you. You were being prepared to carry weight. Weight in counsel. Weight in presence. Weight in decision making. Weight in influence. Light lives require light understanding. Heavy assignments require deep internal grounding. Your soul trained itself to go deep. Because someday you would need to sit with complexity. Without escaping into simplifications. You would need to hold tension without panic. You would need to speak truth without cruelty. You would need to guide without dominating. Surface level meaning could never prepare you for that. Yes, this depth separated you. It made you feel misunderstood. It made you feel too much in some spaces. It made you feel like you didn't fully belong. But it also protected you from living a life that looked full, while being empty inside. And one day, maybe quietly, maybe suddenly, you will realize your refusal to settle saved you. It preserved your clarity. It protected your calling. It kept you available for alignment. You weren't difficult. You weren't dissatisfied for no reason. You weren't asking for too much. You were asking for what you were designed for. Surface level meaning was never meant to hold you. You were created for depth because your assignment requires it. And the fact that you could not settle is not a flaw. It is confirmation. You may not speak the most. You may not announce yourself. You may not dominate conversations. But when you enter a space, the atmosphere adjusts. People feel calmer, or exposed, or unsettled, or seen. Your presence carries weight because it is integrated. You are not fragmented. You are not performing. You are aligned. And alignment carries authority without force. This is why some are drawn to you, while others distance themselves. It's not personal. It's energetic honesty. At some point, you realize something quietly unsettling. Your life is not just about you. Your healing affects others. Your decisions ripple outward. Your growth unlocks doors you may never walk through personally. This awareness can feel heavy, but it is also sacred. You are not here to impress. You are here to stabilize, clarify, and anchor. Higher assignment is less about visibility, and more about impact density. Others may seem ahead. Others may appear established. Others may receive recognition sooner. But speed is not the metric of assignment. Readiness is. You were marked early, and therefore trained carefully. Every delay added discernment. Every setback refined clarity. Every quiet season strengthened alignment. Nothing was wasted. Before you move on, before you scroll, before you try to analyze what you just heard, pause. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breath slow. Let your inner guard rest for a moment. Because this part is not meant to be understood quickly. It is meant to be received. You were never behind. You were never failing at life. You were never too much or not enough. You were never misplaced in time. What felt like delay was design. What felt like silence was protection. What felt like isolation was precision. Some people are rushed forward because their assignment is light. You were held back because yours carries weight. And weight requires stability. There were moments when you doubted yourself. Not because you lacked faith, but because you carried responsibility without explanation. You sensed there was more, but you couldn't yet name it. That uncertainty was not weakness. It was your spirit refusing to accept a role smaller than its calling. You didn't miss your moment. Your moment was waiting for you to be ready. Ready in character. Ready in discernment. Ready in restraint. Ready in humility. Ready to move without ego. Ready to stand without needing permission. Ready to speak without needing applause. Let this settle deeply now. You were not chosen just to shine. You were chosen to stabilize. Not just to speak truth, but to carry it without distortion. Not just to influence, but to hold alignment when others panic. Not just to rise, but to remain grounded while rising. This is why your preparation was long. This is why shortcuts never worked for you. This is why compromise always felt heavy. You may still feel unseen in certain spaces. That does not mean you are unrecognized. Some assignments are invisible until they activate. And when they do, there is no confusion, no scrambling, no forcing. There is only recognition. You don't need to hurry. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to prove what you carry. You don't need to compare your timeline. What is meant for you will meet you in alignment, not in anxiety. Stay rooted. Stay clear. Stay honest with yourself. The clarity you protected will become the authority you walk in. Now receive this slowly. You were not overlooked. You were set apart within the set apart. You were not delayed. You were being trusted with more. You were not broken by the process. You were shaped by it. And nothing you endured was wasted. Nothing. When the next phase unfolds, you will recognize it not by noise, but by resonance. It will feel familiar. It will feel grounded. It will feel aligned. You will not need to chase it. It will open to you. Take one more breath. Let peace settle where doubt used to sit. Let clarity replace the old confusion. Let trust return to your inner space. You are exactly where preparation meets purpose. And when it's time, you will rise calmly, clearly, without force. Because you were never meant to rush into this. You were meant to arrive ready. Receive that. Slowly. Please like this video. And you can support the channel through the link in the channel's bio. Even your $1 is very precious for me and this channel. Your kindness helps us continue spreading light and love. God bless you.